Rasta Terasata Shri Shimachila Bhakti Swarup Damodar Maharaj Ki Jalila Vishtom Vishnuparasta Terasata Shri Shimachila Gaur Govinda Maharaj Ki Jalila Vishtom Vishnuparasta Terasata Shri Shimachila Bhakti Bhai Bhakpuri Maharaj Ki Jalila Vishtom Vishnuparasta Terasata Shri Shimachila Bhakti Pramod Puri Maharaj Ki Jalila Vishtom Vishnuparasta Terasata Shri Shimachila Bhakti Rakshak Shiradev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jalila Vishtom Vishnuparasta Terasata Shri Shrimad Shila Bhakti Pragyan Keshava Goswami Maharaj Ki Jalila Vishtom Vishnupad Paramahansa Parurajacharya Asta Terasata Shri Shrimad Param Gurudev Jagatguru Shila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada Ki Maha Bhagavat Shila Gaura Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Sapta Goswami Sachchit Ananda Shila Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Shila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Shri Gaudiya Vedanta Acharya Shila Baladev Jivushan Prabhu Ki Shri Rasikacharya Shila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur Ki Shila Narottam Srinivas Shamananda Prabhu Ki Shri Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami Prabhu Ki Shri Rupa Shri Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Das Raghunath Shad Goswami Prabhu Ki Shri Damodara Ramanda Shri Gaura Parashad Vrinda Ki Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Prem Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasudeva Shri Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Shri Navadvip Mayapur Dham Ki Ganga Devi Ki Shri Harinam Sankirtana Ki Bhakti Devi Ki Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Sham Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jamuna Devi Ki Shrimati Purnamasi Yogamaya Ki Shrimati Tulasi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki Gopishwara Mahadev Ki Nubraj Dham Ki Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Devi Sudasan Chakra Purushatam Dham Toto Gopinath Ki Narasingha Bhagavan Ki Bhakta Pravara Prahlad Maharaj Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Samagata Bhakta Vrinda Ki Kai Gaura Premanande. Oh, yes. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaurava
किशोराय साक्षात् वैराग्यमूर्तये विप्रलम्भरसाम्बोधे पदाम्बुजायते नमः। नमो भक्तिविनोदाय सच्चिदानन्दनामने गौरशक्तिस्वरूपाय रूपानुगावरायते गौराविर्भावभूमेस्त्वं निर्देष्टा सज्जनप्रिया वैष्णव सार्वभौम श्रीजगन्नाथाय ते नमः। वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो महावदनाय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नाम्ने गौरतिसे नमः। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वृंदाय तुलसीदेवाय प्रियाय केशवस्य च कृष्ण भक्ति प्रदे देवी सत्यवच्चाय नमो नमः। पंचतत्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूपस्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यं नमामि भक्तशक्तिकम्। श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। श्री गुरु चरणा पद्मा केवल भक्ति सदमा। बंधोन्मुखी सावधान माते बंधोन्मुखी सावधान माते जहार प्रसादे भाई ए भव तोरिया जाय। कृष्ण प्राप्ति होई जहा होइते कृष्ण प्राप्ति होई जहा होइते कृष्ण प्राप्ति होई जहा होइते। गुरुमुख पद्म वाक्या चित्ते ते कोरिया ऐक्या। आर न करी हो मने आशा আর না করিহ মনে আশা। শ্রী গুরু চরণে রাখি এই সে উত্তম গতি। শ্রী গুরু চরণে রাখি এই সে উত্তম গতি। এই প্রসাদে পুরে সর্ব আশা। ये प्रसादे पूरे सर्व आशा। चक्षुदान दिलो जे जन्मे जन्मे प्रभु से, दिव्य ज्ञान हृदय प्रकाशित। प्रेम भक्ति जाहा होइते अविद्या विनाश जते। वेदे गाय जहर चरित, श्री गुरु करुणा सिंधु अधम जनार बंधु। श्री गुरु करुणा सिंधु अधम जनार बंधु। लोकनाथ लोकेर जीवन, लोकनाथ लोकेर जीवन। ओहा प्रभु करो दया, देह मोरे पद छाया। आहा प्रभु करो दया, देह मोरे पद छाया। द्वापदी लयनु शरण, द्वापदे लयनु शरण। आहा प्रभु करो दया, देह मोरे पद छाया। गुरुदेव पतित पवन, गुरुदेव पतित पवन। एगे जश कुशुत्री भुवन, एगे जश कुशुत्री भुवन। जय गुरुदेवा गुरुदेवा गुरुदेवा, जय गुरुदेवा। जय गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा, गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा। जय प्रभुपादा जय प्रभुपादा, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Guru Parampara, Guru Parampara, Parampara, Guru Parampara. Jaya Nitai, Jaya Go, Jaya Nitai, Jaya Go. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda. Shri Krishna Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda. Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda. Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare Bolo Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Bolo Hare Ram Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Rama Hare Hare Ram Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Oh Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Oh Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Rama Hare Hare Oh Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Radhe Govinda Jaya Radhe Govinda Radhe Govinda Jaya Radhe Govinda Radhe Govinda Radhe Govinda Hari Bol 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 Gaur Nityananda Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Gaur Nityananda Bol Hari 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 Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Jai Shri Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Nitai Gaur Premanande Nitai Gaur Premanande श्री सचिनंदन गौरी की जय, श्री नित्यानंद महाजन की जय, श्री पंच तत्व की जय, समवेत भक्त वृंद की जय, समागत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। निताय गौर प्रेमानंद हरि हरि Yeah, those are yours. Counting beads are bigger size. Gurve Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shanyavari Paschatya Desatarane Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswamin Iti Namine Namo Vishnupadaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shri Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Iti Namine Vancha Kalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. First of all, I'm offering my unlimited Dandavat Pranams and my Shraddha Pushpanjali at the lotus feet of my most worshipable beloved Guru Dev, Nityalila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Astatarasata Sri Srila A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada. Then I'm offering my same unlimited Dandavat Pranams and my Shraddha Pushpanjali at the lotus feet of my most worshipable beloved Siksha Gurudevs, Nityalila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Astatarasata Sri Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj and Nityalila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Astatarasata Sri Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. I offer my Dandavat Pranams at the lotus feet of all of my Sri Sri Rupanuga Guru Varga. And I offer my Dandavat Pranams to all of the Vaishnavas and to all of the Vaishnavis. So, I guess at least 4 weeks have gone by since we, right? Something like that. Now we're resuming Rag Vartma Chandrika. It's not very big, thick book. And we made it through more than half, at least. So I want to complete that in the next classes today and next Tuesday, Sunday. Yeah, we have Sunday also. But we also have Saturday, that memories program. Okay, and then we have Tuesday and Thursday before Rishabdev Prabhu and Nischinta Didi depart from our midst and go across the globe to the other side to tend to all of their extremely important obligations. So, I don't quite exactly remember which text we were in. So what there is in this book, here's how it's laid out, just to remind ourselves. The book is divided into part 1 and part 2. Okay? Now in part 1, there's 2 different illuminations. There's the first illumination, which is what we pretty much completed. There's 14 verses in the first illumination, plus commentaries. Then part 1's second illumination has 8 verses. And I'm pretty sure that we began, I'll check it out, but I'm pretty sure that we began that second illumination of part 1. And that would comprise page 53 up to page 75. So that's about 24, 22 pages. Now there's an actual part 2 as well. And that's really nectar. There's a whole section there. It's titled In Connection with Swakiya Parakiya. Swakiya-Parakiya. And the first, there's 4 different kind of like articles or lectures there. This comprises about, let's see, page 79, 80, 14, 15, about 15 pages. These 4. So the conception of Srila Jiva Goswami is the first understanding put forward about Swakiya Parakiya. Very important to understand that. Then the second is the line of thought. The line of thought of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Extremely essential. Then comes the opinion of other Vaishnavas. And finally, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur on Swakiya and Parakiya. And then there's some end notes, which is showing various shlokas and footnotes and so forth. But that's the book. So, if we go to the end of the first illumination, namely text 14, So the second illumination, beginning with text 1, there's a long, simply translation from Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's Sanskrit. And there's no commentary by Gurudev. Then text 2 and text 3, same. No commentary. Text 4, no commentary. There's the text itself. I'm just saying there's no commentary by Srila Gurudev. Text 5, no commentary. Then text 6, No commentary, then text 7. And then there's a commentary by Gurudev. His Sri Chandrika Chakora Vritti is the name of his commentary. And then text 8. And that completes part 1. And then as I just read you, the titles of the Swakiya Parakiya, that's part 2. So I think we're going to begin on the first shloka of the second illumination. Okay? So, I'm not reading the Sanskrit. It's a whole page. So Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is telling Sri Krishna is the embodiment of rasa, and he is always immersed in amorous pastimes. Rasa vilas. What does Krishna do with his time? Can you please tell me? What does Krishna do with his time? We're living entities. We have time. It's very limited, a certain number of years in this body, and we're always concerned what we're doing with our time. So we have that desire because it comes from Krishna. Krishna likes to make good use of his time, and guess what? His time is eternal. So his energies assist him in doing what? Huh? Why? Why does Krishna want to have loving pastimes? To taste what? Yes. So this is the first statement of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, that Sri Krishna is the embodiment of rasa. What does that mean? That he is the embodiment of rasa. Everyone has to understand this very clearly and very deeply. Why? Because it's the first shloka of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. If you want to understand what Bhakti Rasa is, you want to understand what Krishna is, his whole abode, his associates, everything, then you have to understand who he is. And he is called Akhil Rasamrita Murti. Say that. Akhil Rasamrita Murti. Akhil Rasamrita Murti. So what do those words mean? Akhil. What does Akhil mean? It means all, completely. Akhil. Akhil what? Rasa Amrita. What does Rasa Amrita mean? Don't try to tell me what rasa means, because we'll be here for a long time. But what is Rasa Amrita? Rasa Amrita. Do you know the meaning of the word Amrita? What? Yes. If you don't know that, after 50 years, you've been drinking something else. Or searching for something else. We're only interested in one thing, and it's the same thing that Krishna's interested in. And that is doing what? Tasting? Tasting ras. But the first statement is Akhil Rasamrita Murti. What does Murti mean? Form. Murti means form. Can we say that about anyone in this world? That they are the embodiment of Rasa Amrita, of all ras. Akhil means all. So Krishna is the full, complete, infinite embodiment of all rasa. There is no rasa without Krishna. He is made of ras. And what does that mean? In another terminology, which is used by Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj, that Krishna is ecstasy personified. Personification of ecstasy. Because rasa also means ecstasy. Prem ras. So Krishna always wants to taste rasa because he is the embodiment of rasa. And mundane materialists have no idea of what rasa is. They're always searching after so-called happiness, which is derived from the contact of our gross senses with the gross sense objects. And they mistake that for happiness. But what is the result of trying and endeavoring life after life after life to taste that kind of happiness? What's the result? Zero. You leave the body, everything that you endeavored for is gone. Not only zero, less than zero. Srila Sridhar Maharaj said that this world is also called the land of what? Of what? Loan. You go to a bank because you want to get some money to use so that you can, do business or whatever. You try to get money there. Does the bank say, yeah, take our money? They say, no, sign here. You owe us this much. But in addition to that amount that you're borrowing from us, you're going to have to pay us this percentage every single year until you pay it back. Right? What's that called? Interest. So Srila Sridhar Maharaj always used to say, it's very common he would use this terminology, that this is the land of loan. We're living in the land of loan. Because nothing's free whatsoever. Nothing at all is free. And all of our endeavors in this world to gain happiness and to end our suffering, that's the two things going on. To avoid suffering and to try to bring some happiness. But what is the result? Result is that now you've incurred a debt with the material nature and you have to pay it back with interest. So if somebody understands this tattva, this is actually tattva, this is truth. No one can surrender to Krishna unless they understand this truth. That Krishna is the embodiment of all rasa. Every single living entity in the whole creation, of which is uncountable numbers of us, jivas, and not only jivas, even Krishna's own expansions, they're all trying to taste rasa from Krishna. Yes. So Akhil means all. He is the embodiment of all rasa. There's not one iota of rasa that he's not the embodiment of. And there's a science of rasa. So why are we so fortunate to become members, devotees of the Krishna consciousness movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? What is our good fortune in all of this? What are we actually seeking from all of this? We are seeking to advance in bhakti. Because without advancement in bhakti, there's no question ever of tasting rasa. Because it's called bhakti rasa. And that is the only way to taste Krishna. To taste the rasa that is within Krishna, it is through bhakti. And what kind of bhakti? Now we have to study. There are many different forms and shapes of bhakti according to the three modes of material nature that they're mixed with. But we're not interested in that because the mixture is not going to give us the desired result. It's okay for the time being, it's okay. Somebody should come onto this path. That's why Prabhupada said, just dovetail your desires with Krishna. That's all. He made it so easy. Just dovetail your desires with Krishna's desires. But is that pure bhakti? No. What is that called in the Sanskrit terminology? Huh? I can't hear. No. What? Aropa Siddha Bhakti. Aropa. What does aropa mean? To superimpose something onto something. Superimposing something onto something. So what is aropa siddha bhakti? What is it? It means to superimpose your material desires onto your attempt to do bhakti. So that's okay, but that's only the beginning. Because you won't go very far if this is your only, methodology that you're trying to employ. Is to satisfy your desires through bhakti. No. Yeah, that's what I just said, dovetail. Prabhupada called it dovetailing, So for the neophyte, beginning level devotees, this is okay. Why? Because at least they're in contact with bhakti, with Krishna, with pure devotees and so forth. But eventually, if we don't follow the process, which is given by our acharyas, given by Rupa Goswami, how to live the life of a devotee, then we will just be dragging along and we will not advance very quickly because we're going to have to give up everything else if we really want this. That's why Krishna makes it perfectly clear at the very end of his entire discourse to Arjuna, and he tells Arjuna what? Sarva what? Sarva what? Tell the whole verse. Sarva dharman So, that's a tall order coming from Krishna. Arjun, give up every other dharma. That's why he says, sarva dharman. All other dharmas. Parityajya. Abandon it completely. All other dharmas. And then what? Mam ekam sharanam. Only surrender to me alone. No one else, no other person, no other demigod, none of my expansions, only to me. Only. Ekam, one. So Krishna is telling this to Arjuna at the very end, that you have to do this, Arjuna. This is what you should do. That's the conclusion of my discourse. You do this. And then what does Krishna say that as a result of your attempt to do this, what will I do? What will I do? Because Arjuna was very, very worried, perplexed, in extreme anxiety and sorrow at the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita, because he was going to have to stand in front of his gurus, his relatives, his brothers, his friends, and kill them, slaughter them on the battlefield. So Arjuna was very, very reluctant. Even though he's a Kshatriya, and a Kshatriya should never ever be reluctant on the battlefield. Especially considering what led up to this. How they tried to avoid it in every single possible way. But no. Krishna wanted Arjuna to understand, this is my desire. It's my desire, Arjuna. It doesn't matter what your desire is. Now you act to completely fulfill my desire. And my desire is that all of these should be destroyed. That's one of the reasons why Krishna comes to this world, isn't it? He says that I come for two main reasons. Paritranaya sadhunam, to save my devotees, to liberate them, my devotees who are oppressed by the demons. And vinashaya cha duskritam, and to destroy. Vinasha means destroy. And I was thinking about this the other day. especially as I was doing the circumambulation of the temple in the evening during the Tulsi Parikrama. And I'm looking up at all the different avatars. And I'm seeing how many weapons these avatars are holding. Like Parasuram, like Kalki, like Lord Vishnu. He has 2 weapons in his 4 arms. 2 and 2. 2 for the devotees and 2 for the demons. Yes. And if we read the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, then we'll see how many demons Krishna killed. So you have to have the demons, because that's one of the rasas that Krishna tastes. But guess what? Our Krishna, who's the son of Nanda Maharaj and Mother Yashoda, he doesn't kill any demons. Did you know that? What do you mean he doesn't kill any demons? What are you talking about? He killed a demon when he was a few days old, Putana the witch. And then after some short time, then he killed the, what was it called? The cart demon, Shakatasur, you know. And one by one, his whole childhood is full of killing demons. So how can you say that Krishna doesn't kill demons? What's the answer? Does he or doesn't he kill demons? What do you think, Tulsi? Does Krishna kill demons or doesn't he kill demons?
He does not kill demons.
Huh?
He does not kill demons.
Why? How?
Because it's all his creation.
No.
I was following your lead and saying he doesn't kill them.
No. So you don't know the answer.
I don't know the answer.
So, but some of the devotees in this room, very well they know the answer. Because I said that Krishna, the son of Maharaj Nanda, son of Mother Yashoda, that Krishna, he doesn't kill any demons. So what is the answer to this, Rishabh?
The son of Daki Vasudeva.
How's that? We see that Krishna is actually killing the demons. But you're saying that Vasudeva and Devaki, he's the son of them, but he's not the son of them.
Well, he did appear in the Vishnu form that he brought over to the house of Nanda Baba and one bird.
Acha. So you mean inside of this baby, Nanda and Yashoda's newborn baby, Krishna, there's a Vishnu form there? Yes. And what happens when Krishna is about to kill a demon? That Vishnu form manifests and kills the demon. You can't see it with your eyes. It looks like Krishna is killing the demon, but actually it's Vasudeva Krishna that is within Nandanandan Krishna. You got that? This is a very important siddhanta. Krishna never kills any demons. He's not a demon killer. But when he leaves Braj and he gets on the chariot and he goes to Mathura, is that the Nandanandan Krishna that's getting on the chariot and going to Mathura? No? What do you think, Ashraya?
Krishna never leaves Vrindavan.
Yeah.
The form that gets on the chariot is
But it looks like Krishna's leaving Vrindavan. All the gopis think that, and they think that for the next 100 years. Krishna's not here. He's left.
when the original personality appears, all the forms of the Lord appear within that body. They're all there with him.
That's true.
So when he leaves to go to Dwaraka, it's a different form when he goes to Dwaraka.
So you say Krishna never leaves Vrindavan. Then where does he go? Huh?
He hides.
He's hiding?
He watches all the...
Actually, there's a thing called a prakosht. This is essential to know. A prakosht is like another simultaneous reality that is going on simultaneously. Just like, for example, are the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu currently going on right now here in Navadvip Dham? We just did the whole parikrama. We heard the whole Navadvip Dham Mahatmya. What's the truth about this? What did Nityananda Prabhu say? Yes. Mahaprabhu's pastimes are eternally going on here. But who is able to perceive them and to see those pastimes? Only the topmost pure devotees who have pure Krishna Prem. Only they can perceive and see that. Same in Vrindavan. These pastimes are eternally going on. So when Krishna is present, then his Leela is called Prakat Leela, which means manifest. But when Krishna apparently leaves Vrindavan, or if he leaves the planet, like at the end of his pastimes are wound up, that's called Aprakat Leela. And that Aprakat Leela is always going on in Braj. Otherwise, why would Chaitanya Mahaprabhu journey on foot all the way from here to Puri, South India, all around, then come up to Vrindavan? That was his final destination, Vrindavan. Why? Because he's tasting all the moods of Srimati Radharani in her separation. So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes to Braj and Vrindavan and stays there many, many days, something like 1 month he stays. And he's tasting all the moods that Srimati Radhika was tasting when Krishna had left Braj. So that subject, meeting and separation, that subject is very, very essential to understand. Meeting and separation. So Krishna told Arjuna that you should fight. You should fight this battle. It is my desire. And if you follow this desire, then you will not have to fear anything, any kind of reaction, killing millions of soldiers. That's what you're going to be doing, Arjuna, for the next, 18 days? Yes. You're going to be killing millions of soldiers. You alone. And Bhim will kill another few million. And the Pandavas, everyone will be finished. And that is my desire. And did Krishna prove that? Yes, Krishna proved that. He revealed what to Arjuna? Virat Rupa, the universal form, in which Arjuna witnessed this destruction of all the armies of millions of soldiers running into his flaming mouths of the universal form. So, the Bhagavad Gita is Krishna's message not just to Arjuna, but to all devotees for all time. It's an eternal message from the eternal Supreme Lord. And there he's promoting to Arjuna that you should surrender to me and you should do bhakti. You should do bhakti to me. You should do completely 100% pure bhakti to me. If you surrender to me, then you won't have to worry about any kind of sinful reactions. Aham tvam sarva papebhyo moksha ishyami. I will liberate you from any kind of sin and sinful reaction. Do not fear. Ma suchaha. So this has to be our mood. We have a mission as devotees in this life to actually surrender to Krishna. And to whatever extent we're hesitant to do that, well, Krishna is going to arrange so many situations in our life that will practically force us to. Because that is what will ultimately be beneficial for us. So Krishna is the embodiment of rasa, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is saying. And he is always immersed in amorous pastimes. Ras vilas, that's what Krishna does. Now, here's a verse that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is quoting. And in this verse, Nahanim na glanim na nija griha krityam vyasanitam nagoram no dagurnam nakila kadanam vekti kimapi varangi vi swangi krita suhridananga vir abito harir vrindaranye parama nisham uchayar viharati. So this verse is explaining how Krishna is always surrounded by the beautiful Vraja maidens. And that Shyamasundar, Sri Shyamasundar, having accepted who? Cupid, Kandarpa, as his heart's nearest and dearest friend. Did you know that? Krishna has a very near and dear intimate friend. His name is Kandarpa, Cupid. So he's accepting that Cupid as his nearest and dearest friend, and he is always so absorbed in romantic intrigues in Sri Vrindavan that he remains completely unaware of anything else. Any kind of loss, lamentation, household duties, calamity, fear, anxiety, or defeat at the hands of his enemies. He's completely unaware of anything else. He's so absorbed in his dalliances with the Braja Gopis. So this scriptural evidence reveals that Brajendra Nandan Shyama Sundar is so captivated by his loving affairs with Srimati Radhika and the other young wives of Braja that he has no chance to even think about anything else. He's so captivated in his loving affairs with Srimati Radhika and the other young wives of Braj that he has no chance to even think about anything else. This being the case, who then accepts the services rendered by countless Raganuga devotees situated in so many countries in all the directions? If Krishna is not even aware of anything else, then who's going to accept the service of all these Raganuga devotees? Good question. Then, and also, who listens to the various kinds of prayers and the praises that they offer to him? One may resolve this uncertainty by saying that the amsha, or the portion of Sri Brajendra Nandan, that is the Paramatma, who resides in the heart of every living entity. But since there is no difference between the portion and the origin, it is Paramatma who accepts the service and who hears the prayers and hymns of the Raganuga devotees. This itself is Sri Brajendra Nandan's accepting and listening. You heard that before? Yes? Who is accepting? Who's listening? Krishna is too preoccupied. But here, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is saying, well, it should be understood that the Paramatma is the Amsha of Krishna. And actually, in one sense, there's no difference between the Amsha and the Amshi. So through the Paramatma, then Krishna is hearing the prayers of his Raganuga devotees. Now, is that the end of this? No. However, for a Raganuga devotee of Krishna, such a proposition is as painful as a crippling disease. Did you hear that? What did he just say? That kind of a proposition, that what? that Krishna is not hearing my prayers, but only Paramatma is hearing, is so painful to the devotee, it's like a crippling disease. So what then is the solution? What's the solution? Sri Uddhav, he provides the answer with the following words. This is from Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, 4th chapter. When Uddhava met who? Vidura. Yes. And he began to remember all of Krishna's pastimes in Braj, because now Krishna had left the planet. So this is the verse. This is the verse. Mantreshu mam va upahuya yat tvam akuntita kanda sadatma bodha priche prabho mugda iva pramattas tanno mano mohayativa deva. And my hands are all sticky from it now too. So here's the verse by Uddhav. O my Lord, while pondering your duty in regard to killing Jarasandha, attending the Rajsuya Yagya, and also performing other responsibilities, you called me over, and just like an ordinary simple-minded person, you asked me, O Uddhav, what is my obligation in this situation? Thank you. So Krishna called Uddhava, O Uddhav, what is my obligation in this situation? Because I'm pondering what to do. I have this duty to kill Jarasandha. I have this duty to attend the Rajasuya Yagya, and also many other responsibilities. So Uddhava's remembering how Krishna called him over and asked him, O Uddhav, what is my obligation in this situation? And he continues, Uddhava continues, although you are full of unlimited eternal knowledge, which is undivided and is unimpeded by time and space, still you questioned me, just as an innocent person approaches somebody wise for advice about some weighty matter, by simultaneously displaying childlike unawareness, mugdata, that means childlike unawareness, and simultaneously omniscience, sarvagyata. You are bewildering me, O Lord, that you are simultaneously displaying childlike innocence, mugdata, and simultaneously omniscience, sarvagyata. So my Lord, you are bewildering me. Now, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is now telling us what Uddhava is saying. He's explaining this verse. Some people say that in reality, you are not perplexed, but you are only acting so, and that, though you appear to be bewildering me, that I am not really bewildered. However, such an explanation is inconsistent with the truth. One may try to justify such an interpretation by inappropriately citing seemingly relevant scriptural statements such as Uddhava's proclamations that what? Quote, you are without endeavor, yet you perform karma, you perform action, but you are without endeavor. And you are unborn, yet you take birth. However, Since this context is different, such an explanation is not proper. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is still discussing this point about Krishna's being aware of the prayers of the Raganuga devotees. So, he is telling us that we, devotees, we must accept mugdata. We must accept this. Krishna's quality of being innocently unaware. We must accept this. In his Dwarka pastimes, despite the presence of his sarvagyata, his all-knowingness, and his being omniscient, he shows that. We have to accept that in spite of being in his Dwarka pastimes in the presence of all-knowingness, but yet we have to understand that Krishna's quality of being innocently unaware is also true. Now similarly, in his Vrindavan pastimes, we are obliged to acknowledge sarva gyata. What's that? All-knowing. So in his Vrindavan pastimes, we are obliged to acknowledge sarva gyata, brought about by his inconceivable potency, despite the presence of mugdata. Leela Sukh, that is Bilvamangal Thakur, he has given an identical explanation in Krishna Karnamrita. And he says there that we see that the apparently contradictory qualities of sarvagyata and mugdata coexist in each and every one of the Lord's pastimes. They coexist simultaneously. So therefore we must accept this as being accomplished by his inconceivable potency. What's that called? Yes, and achintya shakti, achintya, inconceivable. How can someone know everything and then simultaneously know nothing? That's what's being told here. Sarvagyata means knowing everything. And mugdata means childlike ignorance. But yet that is the truth about all of Krishna's pastimes. Now, going on to text 2, the subject is carried on because there's going to be a conclusion. There's going to be an answer to all of this. Now, someone may propose, quote, this is what they may propose. One should understand that sarvagyata here, it indicates an abundance of divine opulence which is devoid of sweetness, madhurya. While the mugdata that results from completely setting aside opulence and imitating human-like behavior is simply madhurya. This is the proposition. But guess what? Only dull-headed people speak like this. You understand? Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he just said, here's another proposal about Krishna's all-knowingness, hearing his prayers of his devotees, etc. But the person may propose that what? One should understand, here's the proposal, yes, one should understand that sarvagyata here indicates an abundance of divine opulence which is devoid of any madhurya, any sweetness. And then simultaneously at the same time, the mugdata that results from completely setting aside opulence and imitating human-like behavior, it is simply madhurya. That's the statement. But Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur rejects this and he says, this is a dull-headed person who wants to speak like this. Going on to text 3. The conclusion regarding the Lord's aspect of unassuming sweetness, madhurya, and related topics is that whether or not divine opulence is exhibited, whether or not it's exhibited, If the mood of human-like pastimes is not transgressed even slightly, then it is called madhurya. He's going to give an example of that right now. But we've already heard this many, many times before. What have we heard? That the Brijbasis, they can see the ultimate infinity of Krishna and everything. Does it affect their love for him as their son? As their friend? No. Not at all. So, even if whether or not divine opulence is exhibited, if the mood of human-like pastimes is not transgressed even slightly, then it is called madhurya. For example, here's the example. When Sri Krishna killed the demoness Putana, he enacted the pastime of sucking her breast. Behavior just like an ordinary human child. And while smashing the terrifying and hard-hearted cart demon, Shakatasur, with his extremely tender lotus feet, Krishna maintained human-like behavior as a small baby of only 3 months, lying flat on his back. Even when Mother Yashoda could not bind him with the longest rope, then Krishna appeared completely perturbed out of fear of her. And in Brahma Vimohan Leela, having baffled Brahma, then Baladev and everyone else, Krishna was seen tending the cows and calves just like an ordinary human boy, even while personally remaining omniscient. Was Krishna personally remaining all-knowing, omniscient, when he expanded as all the calves and the cowherd boys? But still, he was in the mood, in each and every one of them, of being a cowherd boy. So Krishna was seen tending the cows and the calves just like an ordinary human boy, even while personally remaining omniscient. Moreover, even though Krishna's great opulence, his Aishwarya, is present when he is seen performing the pastimes of stealing milk and yogurt and acting lustily towards the enchanting young cowherd maidens, but that Aishwarya is not apparent. If the Lord's Mugdata were to be called Madhurya simply because without displaying any divine opulence it corresponds with human activities, right? So that's why it's Madhurya, because it corresponds with human activities. Then the Mugdata shown by any ordinary restless and playful child would also have to be called Madhurya. Therefore, it is completely wrong to explain Madhurya in this way. So, text 4, to exclusively manifest the sentiment of being the supreme controller of all existence. That means Ishvara Bhav. To exclusively manifest this sentiment of being the supreme controller of all existence, Ishvara Bhav, while disregarding the human-like mood of Nara Leela. Disregarding the human-like mood of Nara Leela, that is called Aishwarya. That is called Aishwarya. When this is exclusive mood sentiment of being the supreme controller. And then disregarding the human-like mood of Nara Leela, then that's called Aishwarya. So when revealing his magnificence, when Krishna said to his parents, Sri Vasudeva and Devaki, "O Father, O Mother, I have shown you my four-armed form just to remind you of your previous birth." When did Krishna say this to Vasudeva and Devaki? Huh? Yes, in Kamsa's prison, when he appeared. He didn't appear as a baby. He appeared in his four-armed form, like a beautiful, enchanting teenager. So then Krishna told to Devaki and Vasudeva, "O Father, O Mother, I have shown you my four-armed form just to remind you of your previous birth. Because otherwise, if you had only observed my human-like characteristics, you would not have understood me." Now, in the same way, Krishna told Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita 9:5, "Behold my magnificent form." And he revealed his Aishwarya. So in Sri Vrindavan also, even while displaying the glories of his charming beauty, he showed Brahma thousands upon thousands of his four-armed forms. Now, text 5, a description of devotees who are steadfast in Aishwarya Gyan, it will be presented. So what kind of devotees will now be presented? Yes, devotees who are completely fixed, steadfast in Aishwarya Gyan. Sri Vasudeva told Sri Krishna and Sri Baladev, "You are not my sons." Vasudeva told Sri Krishna and Sri Baladev, "You are not my sons. You are directly the Supreme Personality of Godhead." When did he tell that to them? When they what? But also, when they came to them after Krishna killed Kamsa, and they came before Vasudeva and Devaki, and they were awestruck. "You are not my sons. You're the Supreme Personality of Godhead." Then Arjuna also, after seeing Krishna's universal form, he said, "Oh Krishna, please forgive me. But for whatever I may have said earlier out of carelessness or out of affection, not realizing your glories." So Arjuna is apologizing for being too intimate with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now the statements of these devotees is a very important tattva. This is a long explanation in this verse. It goes on for like 3 pages, 4 pages. Now the statements of these devotees, it reveals that their respective parental and their fraternal moods diminished upon seeing Sri Krishna's divine opulence. So this is called Aishwarya Gyan. When what? When their moods diminish. Their friendship mood, whatever rasa that they have, when that diminishes upon seeing the opulence of the Lord, then that is called Aishwarya Gyan. Now inversely, even after knowing, that means after hearing, even after hearing that Sri Krishna is the Supreme Lord Himself, when not the slightest scent of any heart-wrenching awe and reverence is produced, but instead the mood of one's established relationship with Sri Krishna remains firm, then that awareness is called what? Madhurya Gyan. And the Aishwarya Gyan is when it becomes affected. So, in Srimad Bhagavatam 10th Canto, chapter 30, there is the chapter titled Yugal Geet. The gopis, they tell Mother Yashoda in that chapter. They say, Gandharvas and other sub-demigods devoted to the Shrutis surrounded Sri Krishna on all four sides. And they worshipped him with hymns, flowers, and other paraphernalia. And then the gopis also said, Lord Brahma and others offered obeisances at his lotus feet as he herded the cows along the path. Now these statements show that the cowherd boys headed by Sri Dama and Subal, they saw Brahma, Indra, Narad, and other demigods. They saw them offering prayers with songs and musical instruments. And they saw them worship with all paraphernalia and obeisances at Sri Krishna's lotus feet as he returned from the forest. But nevertheless, their mood of natural friendship with Krishna was not even slightly diminished. And upon hearing of this from the cowherd boys, then the Braja maidens, they were seen to exhibit an unshakable fixation in their amorous feelings, their madhurya bhav for the Lord. They exhibited unshakable fixation in their amorous feelings for the Lord. Now, in the same way, there was not the slightest weakening of Vrajeshwari Shrimati Yashoda's maternal mood when she heard the words that Brajraj Nanda Baba spoke to pacify the Brajvasis. What were those words that Nanda Baba spoke to pacify the Brajvasis? So she was, her maternal mood was not the slightest weakened when she heard Nanda Baba pacify the Brijvasis. Rather, due to the manifestation of maternal pride, her maternal love for Krishna only strengthened, and she felt, I am blessed that my son is the Supreme Lord himself. Did you catch that? What was just stated here? Mother Yashoda just heard Nanda Baba pacify the Brijvasis by telling them that Krishna is the Supreme Lord. Mother Yashoda heard that. Her maternal mood was not in the slightest bit affected. Instead, what did she feel at that time? She said, I am blessed that my son is the Supreme Lord himself. So these words, they indicate that the surge of maternal pride in the heart of Yashoda, it strengthened her Vatsalya Bhav in the same way that an ordinary mother whose son becomes the ruler of the world immediately feels even more motherly love for him. You see? Now, the Sakas, they said, oh, we too are blessed that our friend is the Supreme Lord. And the Braja Gopis also said, we are blessed that our beloved is the Supreme Lord. So from these statements, we can understand that even after the knowledge that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead came to their attention, that is called Ishvara Gyan, even after, the individual moods of the Brijvasis became strengthened rather than diminished. So when the Brijvasis meet with the Lord, Aishwarya Gyan does not manifest in them. Meeting is like the cool rays of the moon, but separation is like the scorching rays of the sun. And due to the burning pain of separation, Aishwarya Gyan sometimes momentarily manifests. But even then, because of the absence of reverence, then the heart does not palpitate and the feelings of awe are not aroused. So hence, this cannot really be accepted as Aishwarya Gyan. For example, in the Brahmara Gita, what's that chapter? Bumblebee chapter, Brahmara. Brahmara means bumblebee. When who was speaking to the bumblebee? Yes. So now he is giving an example. In Brahmara Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, chapter 47. In the Brahmara Gita, the gopis say, in his incarnation as Rama, as if an ordinary hunter, he pierced from a hidden place the monkey king Bali with arrows. Generally, a hunter kills animals out of excessive greed for flesh, but Ram killed Bali without reason. Thus, he is even crueler than a hunter. Gopis are telling. Furthermore, being subjugated by a woman, that is his wife Sita, Gopis are saying, he cut off the lusty Suparnaka's nose and ears. And then in his incarnation as Vamana, like a crow who snatches a fragment of food and then kicks away the basket from where he took it, he accepted Maharaj Bali's worship and then he bound him with the noose of Varuna Dev. Therefore, we do not want any kind of friendship with that black-complexioned person. But still, we continue to talk about him as it is extremely difficult for us to give this up. So this verse from Brahmara Gita, 10:47-17, it reflects the distinct moods of the Braj maidens, who did not nurture any special awe and reverence for Sri Krishna, even after hearing of his opulence. So before Krishna lifted Govardhan Hill, the Brajbasis had no Aishwarya Bhav, and they never thought, our Krishna is the Supreme Lord. They never thought that. And although they were confronted with evidence that Krishna is the Supreme Lord after he lifted Govardhan, and even when he returned from Varuna Loka, the Brajbasis' hearts were filled only with feelings of pure Madhurya Gyan, just as before. Did any of the Brajbasis start talking about how Krishna is the Supreme Lord when he was standing and holding the hill with his little finger of his left hand for 7 days and 7 nights? Have we read anywhere that they started talking, look, Krishna must be the Supreme Personality of Godhead? No. No one thought like that at all. But then after, you know that story, after the lifting of Govardhan Hill pastime was completed, then the cowherd men, when they came to Nanda Baitak in Nandagaon, that they told that Nanda Maharaj, Nanda, you know, we've been watching your child ever since he was born, and we've noted down all of his extraordinary, super powerful activities. And they started naming them, killing this demon, this. And just now, we just saw him lift Govardhan Hill and hold it for 7 days and 7 nights. So, Nanda, we're really thinking that this boy, Krishna, who you consider to be your son, no, he's not just your son. He's a Supreme Lord himself. It could be. So we suggest to you, Nanda, that you better not scold him and sometimes slap him or twist his ears, because this is very disrespectful toward him. So what did Nanda Maharaj say at that time? What was Nanda's answer to the cowherd men? That's after. But what did he first of all say to all this proposal of the cowherd men? He began to chuckle, and he says, "Now I see that this ancient saying that for the dynasty of the cowherd men, their milk teeth only comes in when they're old men, 60 years old, right? Their milk teeth only comes at that time. In other words, wisdom. Now I can see. What are you suggesting to me? Haven't you seen that this boy, he has no symptoms that he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead? When he wants to have makan and roti, what does he do? He lays himself on the floor on his back. He starts kicking his feet and his hands and crying and saying, "I want my makan and mitzri." Is that the behavior of the Supreme Personality of Godhead? So Nanda Maharaj gave a number of proofs to try to completely discount what the cowherd men had said. But then at the end he says, but we know that Garga Rishi, when he was reading this child's birth chart, then he told that this child is so powerful, and it's almost as if he's the Supreme Lord. That the Lord incarnates in his activities just to perform some superhuman activity. But he himself is not the Supreme Lord, but the Supreme Lord Narayan sometimes incarnates. So then all the cowherd men, they said, yeah, let's just see. Nanda is completely correct. We're such idiots. We were just trying to think that how can he possibly be the Supreme Lord? So like that, this is the discussion going on here. Now, and although the Brijbasis were confronted with evidence that Krishna is the Supreme Lord after he lifted Govardhan, and even when he returned from Varuna Loka, but the Brijbasis' hearts, they were filled only with the feelings of pure Madhurya Gyan, just as before. Shri Vasudev said to Shri Krishna and to Baladev, neither of you are my sons. Now in contrast, although knowledge of Krishna's divine opulence arose in Nanda Baba's heart after he heard from Varuna Dev and from Uddhava, Nanda Baba never had the sentiment that Krishna is not my son. That's what he also told to the cowherd men. He says, you may say whatever, but he is my son, and even if he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he has come as my son, and I will reprimand him and punish him. Otherwise he will grow up in a very bad way. So Nanda Baba never had the sentiment, even though he heard from Varuna Dev, and he heard from Uddhava, but he never had the sentiment that Krishna is not my son, nor is it mentioned anywhere that he ever spoke in this way to anyone. Thus, we can see that the Brijbasis were always completely full of spotlessly pure Madhurya Gyan. Now, in contrast, the Madhurya Gyan of the associates of Dwarka, what was it mixed with? It was mixed with the awareness of the Lord's Aishwarya in Dwarka, but not in Braj. Where do we want to go? Where do we want to go? Do you want to go to Dwarka? You have to answer loudly. Do you want to go to Dwarka? Wow. You're a very mixed group here today. Do you want to go to Dwarka?
No.
Do you want to go to Braj?
Yes.
So, now, we're moving on to text 6. And here, a question may be raised. And remember, there's only 8 shlokas in this, second illumination of part 1. Okay. So, here a question may be raised. This is a long statement in Sanskrit by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. It comprises almost 2 entire pages. So now comes the translation of his commentary here. So he's telling that here, at this point, a question may be raised. What question? Vasudev Nandana, Sri Krishna, the son of Vasudev, he performed human-like pastimes in Dwarka with the awareness that I am the Supreme Lord. Now, did Nandanandan Sri Krishna have this same perception in his Vrindavan pastimes or not? That Krishna perceived that he's the Supreme Lord in his Vrindavan pastimes? Huh? If one says in answer to that, yes, he knew it, then at the time of being bound by Mother Yashoda in Dham Bandhan Leela, tears would not have flowed from his eyes out of fear of her. What did he just tell? If what? If he's aware that he's the Supreme Lord, tears would not have flowed in fear of Mother Yashoda. So, then Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, it is not befitting for learned devotees to suggest that his fear and his tears of fright were simply a show. No. It's not befitting for learned devotees to say that. That is just a show. Only less intelligent people will say this. Now, if the learned devotees were to accept this explanation, then Kunti Devi would not have said in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 1st canto, 8th chapter, O Krishna, when you broke the yogurt pot, Mother Yashoda decided to punish you so that you would not create such mischief again in the future. So when, out of anger, she started to bind you with a rope, then your eyes became agitated out of fear, and tears mixed with cudgel flowed down your cheeks and drenched your chest. At that time, frightened of your mother, although fear personified is himself afraid of you, you lowered your head and you hid your face behind her. Remembrance of you in such a condition leaves me bewildered. Who's telling that? Huh? Yes. She's telling that when she thinks about that how frightened Krishna was of his mother, even though she's aware of the fact that who is Krishna? She has Aishwarya Gyan. So she says, fear personified himself is afraid of you, O Krishna, but yet you become agitated out of fear of Mother Yashoda when she bound you with a rope out of anger, and the tears mixed with cudgel flowed down your cheeks, drenched your chest. At that time, frightened of your mother, although fear personified is himself afraid of you, you lowered your head and you hid your face behind her. Remembrance of you in such a condition leaves me bewildered. So she can't accommodate that. It's bewildering because she understands who Krishna is in his Aishwarya feature. Now, through these statements, Kunti Devi has expressed Aishwarya Gyan, as is indicated by the phrase, fear personified is himself afraid of you. So her words, frightened of your mother, This signifies that the fear in the heart of Krishna was not artificial. Now he's proved that. Krishna was not just making a show. He was actually feeling fear. So, her words, frightened of your mother, it signifies that the fear in the heart of Krishna was not artificial. It was genuinely felt by him. So this is the conclusive opinion of Kunti Devi. And if she had thought that Krishna was pretending to be afraid, then she would not have been puzzled. Yet, if we say that he did not know that he is the Supreme Lord, then the question arises as to what it is that covers the eternal knowledge of Krishna. Krishna is the personification of unending bliss and knowledge. So, who is it? What is it? The question has to be asked, what is it that covers the eternal knowledge of Krishna? Now we're at that point. So now he explains, we see that avidya means what? Ignorance. We see that ignorance as the function of the illusory potency, Maya. It throws all living entities into the bondage of the material world. And it veils the knowledge of their constitutional position to make them experience only suffering. So in the same way, the embodiment of the function of the spiritual potency, that's called Chit Shakti. That is, the pastime potency, the Leela Shakti, Yoga Maya, covers the knowledge of Sri Krishna's associates, such as Mother Yashoda, who are beyond the three modes of nature. Yoga Maya covers them. This enables them to taste the mellows of the happiness of Sri Krishna's supremely sweet pastimes. Now similarly, the essence of Chit Shakti, namely Prem, what's covering Krishna? The essence of Chit Shakti, namely Prem, also covers Sri Krishna's own knowledge of his nature, that he is the very personification of divine pleasure itself, Ananda Swarup. And why does that essence of the Chit Shakti, Prem, cover Krishna's knowledge? Why? To enable him to relish a greater abundance of ecstasy. Prem is also Krishna's internal, intrinsic potency, Swarup Shakti. So therefore there is no fault in its covering his identity or his Swarup. Because why? Why is there no fault? Because Prem, which is covering Krishna, it is also Krishna's internal intrinsic potency. It is his Swarup Shakti. So therefore there is no fault in its covering his identity, his Swarup. Now ignorance binds the living entities by its tendency to create attachment. What happens when the living entities become bound by ignorance, avidya? They become attached. If there was no avidya, ignorance, the living entities wouldn't become attached. So, this ignorance binds the living entities by its tendency to create attachment. And thereby it inflicts agony upon them. Criminals are bound by ropes and chains, and causing them to experience suffering. Whereas respectable people, they find great satisfaction in adorning themselves with pleasing, costly, fragrant, fine, soft clothes like kurtas and turbans, which also constitute a type of bondage. Similarly, the conditioned souls bound by ignorance, they experience only misery in the state of bondage. Whereas Krishna becomes happy under the control of prema. So Krishna savors great joy in being bound by love, just as the bumblebee feels happy in being enclosed in the whorl of a lotus flower. Does a bumblebee like being enclosed in the whorl of a lotus flower when the bumblebee becomes trapped there? Does the bumblebee like that? Yes. He's very happy. So therefore it is said, O Lord, you do not leave the lotus-like hearts of your devotees. And it is also said, devotees have bound your lotus feet with ropes of love. Now, in this world, the extent to which one's knowledge is covered, that depends on the degree of one's ignorance. What was that stated here? I'm going to have you repeat after me. In this world, the extent to which one's knowledge is covered depends on the degree of one's ignorance. And accordingly, one will experience 5 kinds of misery. Klesha. So, what does this mean? We all know this philosophy of the conditioned material existence of the conditioned souls. And if a person's, we know that some conditioned souls are more heavily covered than others. Is that true or not? Are all conditioned souls equally immersed and covered? No. First of all, there's different types of coverings based upon the 3 modes of material nature. But here, he's saying that in this world, to the extent to which one's knowledge is covered, that depends on the degree of one's ignorance. Right? If a person's a little ignorant, less covering. If they're more ignorant, full covering. See? So their knowledge is covered. And in being covered, then according to the degree of that covering, they will experience the 5 kinds of misery called klesha. And similarly, various degrees of prema suppress the knowledge and the opulence of both the object, the vishay, and the receptacle, the ashray of prema, enabling them to taste the happiness of unlimited varieties of rasa according to the level of their love. So thus, the love of Mother Yashoda and other Brajavasis who are the ashray of prema. What does ashray mean? The receptacle or the shelter of prema. And Krishna is called what? The vishay. Means what? The object of prema. He's the receiver of the prema, of the ashraya. So he's the vishaya. He's the object of their prema. Yes, so thus the love of Mother Yashoda and the other Brajavasis, who are the ashray of prema, binds their Vishay, their Krishna, becomes bound with the ropes of mamata, possessiveness toward him, and vice versa. Krishna also has that toward his devotees, mamata. Now, by their mutual love, the Vishay and the Ashray bring one another under control. Vishay and Ashray, they bring one another under control by their mutual love. And thus, they shower an excess of joy upon both. Now, on the other hand, the prem that is mixed with awareness of the Lord's great opulence, which is found in Vasudev, Devaki, and other residents of Mathura and Dwarka, it is not capable of bestowing such happiness upon Sri Krishna and his devotees. Sri Krishna is so captivated by the parental love of Vrajeshwari Yashoda and the other older gopis that he is not aware that he is the Supreme Lord. Why is Krishna not aware that he's the Supreme Lord? Because he's completely captivated by their parental love, especially of Yashoda and the other older gopis. So he's not aware that he's the Supreme Lord. And when disturbances from demons and forest fires occur, whatever omniscience is seen in Sri Krishna is only to protect his dearest devotees. That's all. One should understand that his pastime potency, what's that called? His pastime potency is called Leela Shakti. Yes. So one should understand that his Leela Shakti, his pastime potency, it causes him to momentarily display his omniscience. Furthermore, whatever omniscience is present at the time of Krishna's mugdata, it is simply to allow him to accept the service rendered by sadhaks. What? Whatever omniscience is present at the time of Krishna's mugdata, when he's completely absorbed and he has no other thoughts. So that omniscience that is present at that time is simply to allow him to accept the service that is rendered by sadhaks like us. This omniscience also, it is instilled in him by his inconceivable potency as previously established. Where does that come from? His achintya shakti. So in this way, I, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, I have expounded a philosophical deliberation on Vidhi Marg and Rag Marg, the Lord's aspects of Aishwarya and Madhurya, and his devotees' awareness of these aspects called Aishwarya Gyan and Madhurya Gyan. I have also presented an elaborate analysis of the distinctions between Svakya Bhav and Parakya Bhav in Ananda Chandrika, that is my commentary on Rupa Goswami Pad's Ujjvala Nilamani, which is a summary of which is given in part 2. So by performing bhajan, this is now telling us what we should do. Now we'll hear what we should do. By performing bhajan of Radha and Krishna in Vidhi Marg, then one attains what? Aishwarya Gyan. By performing bhajan of Radha and Krishna in Vidhi Marg, one attains Aishwarya Gyan. which does not differentiate between the moods of marital and paramour love in Goloka, and which is situated within the realm of Maha Vaikunta. So if by being covetous of Madhur Rasa one performs bhajan in Vidhi Marg, then as Sri Radha and Satyabhama are one, the sadhak becomes an associate of Satyabhama in Dwarka, in the mood of marital love, attaining Madhurya Gyan mixed with Aishwarya Gyan. So by being covetous of Madhur Rasa and performing bhajan by Rag Marg, is that what we want to do? One day? We want to perform bhajan of Radha and Krishna in which Marg? Rag Marg. So by being covetous of this, greedy of this Madhur Rasa, and performing bhajan in Rag Marg, one becomes an associate of Srimati Radhika in Braj, in the mood of paramour love, and he attains pure Madhurya Gyan. He attains pure Madhurya Gyan. He becomes an associate of Srimati Radhika. This is what this book is about. We should know this to be absolutely true. That if we perform bhajan in the Rag Marg with this desire of Madhurya Rasa, then what will happen? Will that attract Dwarka, Mathura, Satyabhama? No. It will attract Srimati Radhika. And by being covetous of Madhur Rasa and performing bhajan by Rag Marg, one becomes an associate of Srimati Radhika in Braj, in the mood of paramour love, and attains pure Madhurya Gyan. He explains further right now, before the end, this is almost the end of text 6, he explains that although Srimati Radhika is Sri Krishna's own pleasure potency, and Krishna is also Radhika's very own Svakiya Jan, her own property. Krishna is her property. Yeah? And Radhika is Krishna's own pleasure potency. And Krishna is also Radhika's very own Svakiya Jan, her own property. But it is nonetheless one's perpetual duty to serve the divine couple, Radha Krishna Jugal, along with their pastimes, and not Krishna alone without his pastimes. You got that? One must serve. It is our perpetual duty to serve Radha Krishna Jugal along with their pastimes. That's what we have to serve. Who we have to serve. And we should not serve Krishna alone without his pastimes. None of the scriptures written by the sages has determined that, this is the last paragraph here now, we're going to finish with this. None of the scriptures written by the sages, none of them, has determined that Radha and Krishna of Braj are married. Therefore, Srimati Radhika, in both her manifest and her unmanifest pastimes, that means Prakat and Aprakat Leela, she is attributed with having the mood of a paramour, not that of a wife. And in this way, the essence of all topics has been briefly presented here in this text. Gaur Premanande. So there's the text 7 that we'll read in the next class. Text 7, which which has a good lengthy translation of his commentary. And also it has a, not very long, Sri Chandrika Chakora Vritti by Gurudev, his purport. And then text 8, we'll cover these in the next class. This is very short, by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. And that ends the second illumination. Then we go on to part 2. We'll finish this in the next class, and we'll enter into part 2, which is in connection with Swakiya Parakiya. So that part 2 is going to be that'll be from page, let's say 80 up to 104. So it's like 24 pages. So we'll finish this discussion, Swakiya Parakiya, in the next 2 classes. That means on Sunday, and then on Tuesday. And if for some reason we didn't quite fit it all in, then the Thursday class, which will be the last class that I'll give on this book, and then after that, then Rishabh and Nischinta Didi fly back. So we'll try to finish this in these next 3 classes on Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday. And then on Saturday, what do we have? We have a program here. That's the day after tomorrow. Tomorrow is Ekadasi, by the way. And then the day after tomorrow, we will have a program of remembrance for our dear, worshipful godbrother, Sripad Bhaktivedanta Avadut Maharaj. So everyone should come and attend. And we'll have to figure out what we're going to do, if we're going to have a feast on that day. I really think we should, because, is there a plan for that? Who's doing the planning? Is there any one person that's like doing the planning for that program? Because somebody advertised that program. Yeah, that's what I'm asking. Who did the flyer?
I thought you and Sahadev discussed, and I said Sukantos got everybody together. We didn't talk to Chulopin. We didn't talk to Sahadev. We're trying to figure out who's organizing
The feast for his festival on Saturday.
Our host.
Sukanta Prabhu. Oh, very good. He'll be back by then, from Puri then. Okay.
Supposed to be back tonight.
Oh, great. Wonderful. Okay, so Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo Shri Raghavardhana Chandrika Ki Jai Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur Ki Jai Madhurya Gyan Ki Jai Mamata for Shri Krishna in Braj Ki Jai Gaur Premanande. Can sing a short Mahamantra Kirtan. You can do.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Vedanta Padmanabh Maharaj ki jai. Gurudev ki jai. Separation. Are you going to stand in the first spot? At the same people's house? One is going to be Krishna road, right? There's other friends there. We're going to be house. The Puri. She's a disciple of Kitchery here, my right. Before that. Well, we have all I made, that's all we did. I did that? Yeah.